Hi all, welcome to part 2 of antagonism. In part 1, we have learned what is antagonism, then the different types of antagonism, and we have learned the mnemonic CPR for the different types, that is C for chemical antagonism, then P for physical and physiological or functional. Then the fourth type is the receptor antagonism. Then we have learned about the fourth type, that is the receptor antagonism. If you want to know more about these topics, you can listen to my videos that is uploaded in my YouTube channel as well as the Instagram page. So you can listen to those topics in this YouTube and Instagram pages. So now coming to today's topic, that is receptor antagonism, the different types of receptor antagonism and non-competitive receptor antagonism. Under competitive receptor antagonism, as you can see in this figure, competitive antagonist and the agonist, they compete for the same receptor site. Okay, they compete for the same receptor site, and also second point is that the agonist and the antagonist will have similar chemical structure. Okay, so what are the first 2 points? Agonist and antagonist, they compete for the same binding site. Second point is that agonist and antagonist have same chemical structure. Now please listen to this log dose response curve. So dose is marked in the x-axis and response in the y-axis. So if you notice in this DRC, you can see that as the dose of the agonist is increased, the same response is obtained in the presence of antagonist. See, right? So you can see that when the dose of the agonist is increased, the same response is obtained in the presence of antagonist. That is, the DRC is getting shifted to the right. So this is the third and fourth point. So in competitive agonist, the DRC is getting shifted to the right, okay, and same maximal response can be attained by increasing the dose of agonist. So this is called the surmountable antagonism. So competitive antagonism is also called surmountable antagonism. Examples are acetylcholine and atropine, and morphine and naloxone. Now coming to the non-competitive antagonism. See this picture? Okay. See this picture? Here the agonist and antagonist are binding to different sites, binding sites. So the binding site is different in non-competitive, okay, and they also have a different structure. Now please look at this DRC. If you notice the DRC, in the presence of antagonist, the curve is getting flatter. That is, the curve is put down, right? So the DRC is getting flattened. This means that maximal response is decreased in non-competitive antagonism. So this is also called unsurmountable antagonism. Example for non-competitive antagonism is diazepam and picocillin. Now coming to a special topic, that is what is partial agonist. So partial agonist, as you can see in this diagram, also competes with the agonist for the same receptor site. Now what is the difference between a competitive antagonist and a partial agonist? In competitive antagonism, no response is seen after binding of a competitive antagonist. But in partial agonist, a submaximal response is obtained after the partial agonist is getting binded to the receptor. So that is the main difference between a competitive antagonist and a partial agonist. In partial agonist, the submaximal response is obtained. Now coming to the third type of antagonism, that is the non-equilibrium type of antagonism. In this type, the antagonism forms a covalent bond with the receptor, or the antagonist will only dissociate with the receptor. So the antagonist will slowly dissociate from the receptor. So a certain antagonist bind to the receptor either with a strong covalent bond or dissociate from it slowly due to very high affinity, and this results in agonist molecules that are unable to reduce receptor occupancy of the antagonist molecules. So what is the specialty? The antagonist here forms covalent bonds with the receptor, or it will dissociate from the receptor only slowly, so that the agonist molecules are unable to reduce the receptor occupancy. And how is the DRC looking in non-equilibrium antagonism? The DRC is shifted to the right and the maximal response is also lowered. So in this session we have learned different types of receptor antagonism. So first we have learned about competitive, then about non-competitive receptor antagonism, then about non-equilibrium type. So in competitive, binding site is same for agonist and antagonist, and the structure is also same, and the DRC is shifted to the right, which means that with the increase in the amount of agonist, the same maximal response can be obtained. In non-competitive, the binding site structure is also different, and DRC flattened means that the maximal response is reduced. In non-equilibrium type of antagonism, the antagonist will form a covalent bond or slowly dissociate from the receptor, and the DRC is rightward shifted and also flattened. Okay, then we have learned about partial agonist, where the antagonist and agonist competes for the same receptor, but a submaximal response is produced. So yes, so these are the things we have discussed in this video. So if you have any doubts, you can reach me on Instagram or my Telegram page, and please do subscribe my Instagram page and YouTube channel. Thank you.